underneath the Facebook live stream. We will take questions. We already have some questions in, and also if you have suggestions for people who could be on our show, feel free to drop us a line. The guest of today, Paul Errington, is a true gravel pioneer. There's no exaggeration here, because he's been gravel riding when everybody was on the tarmac still. You're from Newcastle, Paul.
Yeah.
Happy to have you on the show.
Yeah, happy to be here.
I have I have a few short questions. What do you drink?
Hi, this is orange squash today, but this is in my dirty cans of finishes.
You're proud of that?
I am very proud of this. There's a lot of pain goes into any one of these.
And that's what you get out of it, right?
This is it. Yeah.
Okay. And what's the last song on your playlist?
Today it was No FX. I can't remember which track it was, but I was listening to a No FX mix.
Okay, excellent. We have a poll that's under the Facebook stream, if I'm not mistaken, and we're trying something out here. So we all, in every edition of this Gravel Union Talks, we have a big debate question. The question of today is, what wheel size do you prefer for gravel riding? Is that a 700C or a 650B? Just drop us or give us your opinion and make your choice in the online poll. We will get back to that a little later in the show. So we're curious what is the preference of the audience. But let's go back to Paul. I have a couple of one-sentence answered questions. So keep it brief. We'll get back to some topics later on a little bit more elaborately. What do you prefer, gravel riding, bike packing, or gravel racing?
For riding. Yep, riding.
Okay. What do you prefer, riding alone or riding with friends?
I prefer friends, but I definitely spend more time riding on my own.
Okay. What is the longest distance on a gravel bike you ever did?
In one go, 325 miles. So what's that in kilometers? You can convert.
325 times 1.6. I'm not good at math, but whoa, that's a long distance. Long distance. So whoa, that's you might have a picture on that, or Maya. We'll get you sent in some pictures that we'll have in the show a little later on. What do you prefer, electronic or mechanical?
Electronic, definitely. Yeah.
I have a tire size question, but I'll save that for later, because we don't want to have the opinion of you interfering with the audience's opinion. What do you prefer, planned routes or I see it when I get there?
Ooh, I like both. That's a bad answer, but I like to have the option to plan when I have a limited window. But when I'm at home, I like to explore. Definitely.
So you try out things and see where you end up.
Yeah, sometimes when you travel, you want to make sure you get the best of wherever you're going to be. But when you're at home, because you know it's home,
no.
you can be freeform a little bit more and explore more.
Well, it's fun to find things that you never knew and that were in your backyard. So it's I can relate to that. What is your how many bikes do you own first?
A lot. Own. You're making a distinction that I don't own many of my own bikes. It's very true. I think I maybe own 4 or 5, and I have probably over 10
that you can use as a tester.
And
what's the last time you cleaned your bike or one of your bikes?
The last time I even rode a bike was, and not an indoor bike, was 2 months ago. And but all my bikes are clean. They're very clean now.
But you're still under the COVID-19 regulations. You can't go out in the UK.
We can go out. We have some things happening at home, so we're being extra cautious. Yeah, but it's, indoor training is a means to an end. I'm super motivated now to ride my bike
But
outside.
you're an RGT fanatic, aren't you?
I'm a big RGT fan. Yeah.
I happen to know that you even have a schedule for the week. Yeah, you have
This morning was Stelvio. Every Wednesday morning is the Stelvio.
So it's a Stelvio, so it must be Wednesday. That kind of feeling.
Yeah. It helps in these circumstances to have a routine.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you spend your day just not doing much.
Well, it's getting back to normal, gradually. And I know some countries are a little faster and others take a little bit more time. But it's good to know that you're still on the bike, even if it is an indoor trainer. What is your favorite bike?
Ooh, I have a Shand Stouter that Shand gave me maybe 5 years ago now, and it's been repainted a few times, and it was almost one of the first good gravel bikes that I got hold of. Yeah.
So that has a special place in your heart.
Yeah, that bike has done a few good trips now. Yeah.
What's always interesting to know is, we talk with all kinds of people in Europe doing gravel rides, but what the hardest thing, what's difficult is that what is the definition of gravel riding? And there might be as many as people, but what is your definition of gravel riding?
Yeah, you're right. It is. It's really geographical as to how you interpret gravel riding. I think it's just like that kind of center ground, that mixture of everything. That like one bike where you just go and kind of mooch around and you ride a bit of road or you ride a bit of off road. For me, that's gravel. Like it's versatility. I think is probably a good word for gravel.
Versatility. That's a nice one. Yeah, because like you said, it's where you are at the moment. This all the situations are difficult, are different, and you might be in the mountains or on the rolling hills. But you sent in a couple of pictures of your adventures, because I think when did it all start for you, gravel riding?
Gravel riding for me was like 2012, which was when I did my first gravel event. But before that, I'd been really into, I guess the precursor is like bike packing and adventure riding, which would, up until that point, had been on a mountain bike because that was the better tool for the kind of terrain that we were riding on. So I think the first good bike packing trip I did was a coast to coast in the UK. So like west coast of Scotland to east coast, which is the West Highland Way, East Highland Way, and then Speyside Way, which was a couple of days. It was really fun. But then, I guess it was, I was always kind of looking for the interesting events to do. So I did I did a really high event in Nepal and a really cold event. Yeah. And those are the kind of, as a rider, I think you're always kind of figuring out because it's such a broad thing, cycling. You're always kind of not define yourself, but just figure out what you enjoy doing in cycling. To say you're a cyclist is a bit of a broad term. So we got.
Now we're watching as you talk. We're watching at some pictures. We have a very cold ride here. I think you're carrying a bike somewhere in the snow. Where are we?
That's Nepal. So that's the stage race called Yak Attack, and that's so you spend like 4 days or 5 days, I think, just climbing, like 5 stages, and then this is the final up and over. This is 5,400 meters, like Thorongla Pass. So there's no way you're going to ride any of this. So you have to carry your bike, and it's a single speed anyway. So you ride single speed, you're used to carrying your bike.
But then
this is a super high one.
But did you also have a if you only have to climb and climb and climb, the fun thing is that you also can go down again.
Oh yeah, then you spend 3 days descending. It's great.
That's excellent. Yeah. That's maybe we can have another picture because I think you've been riding all continents. This is in.
Oh, this is my first DK. This is my first Kanza. This is 2012. This is me new to to gravel. I'd found gravel through the other events that I'd taken part in. I kind of, you're always looking for that next thing. And I'd seen these crazy pictures of these rolling big gravel hills and these massive distances. And I figured this was probably something I should take a look at. So, and I went pretty optimistic. I'd been doing 200-mile training rides. I actually thought I'd be like, this would be my thing and I could do really well. And DK back then was only 300 riders. So I took off in the first group super fast.
So you had aspirations for the podium?
I had aspirations for doing really well. Maybe not a podium, but I thought I could feature. Maybe what I didn't realize is how fast these guys ride 200 miles. Even back then, there was some really well-known kind of gravel protagonists, a guy called Corey Cornbread and Matt Gersib. Like, these Yuri Oswald, these guys were serious riders. And, gravel had existed even in 2012. It had been a part of this cycling culture for a long time. So I was kind of an interloper. And I think after maybe 30 miles, the lead guy in our little lead group sat up because we'd ridden 6 miles off course. So we had to turn around. And what I thought was fast before just got insane. So before we even hit the first checkpoint at 50 miles, I was gone. And then I spent the rest 150 miles pretty much on my own, and then hooked up with a guy for the last 50. But it's very lonely out there in the Flint Hills if you're suffering and having a bad day. Anyone who's ridden DK will testament that this is like a roller coaster. Riding, you'll feel good, you'll feel bad. Eventually you'll finish and you'll feel amazing, but it's such a brutal event, but at the same time, such a great thing to be doing on a bike.
Yeah, well, I think this Saturday, Dirty Kansas would have been held, but it's now postponed until September. So for the time being, good memories only, but I'm sure we'll get back to Dirty Kansas in September, maybe. This is on yet another continent. I think is this Morocco or where
no?
Is
this is actually my second gravel event. So 2012, I did DK. But this was the event that I wanted to do first. This is Trans Iowa. Now, sadly, this event doesn't happen anymore. And this is the biggest single ride I've ever done. This event is 325 miles. So you start in the dark, you ride through the dark, and if you're having a bad day, you finish in the dark. But yeah, this is, again, it's just another brute of an event. You've ridden 150 miles, you still have over 170 to go.
So that really is also not only a physical but also a mental.
Yeah, I was so lucky that I got into this little really cool group of 7 riders, and we rode the last 150 miles together, and that's the difference between finishing an event like this and not really. I think is you have those people around you. So when you're having a bad time, they're good. When they're having a bad time, you're good, and you kind of buoy each other around. Fun event. Maybe you wouldn't recommend it, but you can't ride it now anyway.
Okay, that's true.
One for the
well, we'll take a last picture before we move on to the viewers' question. This is I'm not because I was wrong. Iowa, Morocco.
Okay, go for the same one again.
Oh, this is Iowa also.
This is Morocco.
This is Morocco. So now I'm okay.
Yeah. So this is kind of what I've been doing for the last. I kind of ended last year, but the last 2 or 3 years was doing these really short 3-day bikepacking trips with the guys at 3T, and a small collective called Expedition 3, where we'd go and sample some of the best riding that's out there, really. And Morocco is exceptional for gravel riding. And especially this is right in the south, because this is like touching the Sahara. Mm-hmm. It's reasonably flat. You can see like even that in one image, you could be riding at any point in that picture. You can just you pick a direction and just ride in it. You don't even need a Jeep trail to do that. This is it's kind of another cool thing about gravel bikes. These are running 2-inch tires on these frames. Just that versatility. Just see something you want to look at, just ride over to it.
Well, I think we've established that you are an expert and been riding all over the world. Well, let's go to a few viewers' questions. Let me see. Drew Barrett and Fabio Pina or Pino, I think it is. Oh no, it's yeah, it is. Are wondering they're newbies to the gravel, and they are asking what were the things you wish you knew when you started off. So what are starters tips?
This is really difficult because it changes depending on your kind of where your starting point is. For me, I had a pretty good like experience in endurance, so I knew kind of that I needed to eat things, I needed to drink things. Like being comfortable on the bike was key. Having a good mindset. There's so many little things, and I think it's just a case of you really need to figure it out as you go. You know, start with something you know, start with a distance you know, and a bike you know, and then you expand from there. And again, this is gravel. You just keep creeping the route, make it wider and wider and wider. And the bigger days you go, the more food you need to take, and the more comfortable you need to be. And yeah.
So it's really trial and error, and find your own
trial
path.
and error. Find your own. And this, we get like we get a lot of issue with trying to define things in cycling. I think a lot of the time we don't need to do that. We just need to find our own little path, the bit of cycling we enjoy.
Yeah, that's why we started off with a definition, I think the fun part of gravel riding is everybody has its own definition, and it's all right. It's there's no.
I mean, we do with the Gravel Union. This is the joy of that website, is that we feature so many cool events, and every time you go to a new event, you're basically sampling someone's interpretation of what they think gravel is and how it should look in their geography or their experience, or how, you know, what kind of riding they enjoy, and it's always a different.
Let's go on to a next question, and it's it's a big question, but still we're going to ask it. Tony Garvaz asks, it's about gender imbalance in any kind of event. So gravel events are also there. How can we make gravel events more appealing to women and to reduce the gender imbalance more commonly seen? It's a big question, but you know, I know you can handle those.
It is a huge question. I'm not sure if I'm well placed to answer this. I can tell you what I see that a lot of people are doing in terms of the event organizers, which I think is key, is that they're really increasing their representation. So they're basically setting aside a lot more places for different groups to be able to increase the diversity in their event. And by doing that, you better your representation. So this is key, because if you come to a sport new and fresh, like you've never seen a bike, you've never done an event, but you can't see anybody like you riding that bike or doing that event, then it's very difficult to relate to that. And I think this is key with representation, that this is a stepping stone or a first step, and then from there we can track back. But I think with a lot of things, we have to go a long way back, you know, to kids, to figuring out, you know, at what point does this split? At what point does cycling not become appealing to some groups? Mm-hmm. And why is that?
Yeah, interesting. And I do agree. It's we see more women coming in at the events, but we still have a long way to go, and we should also allow us, you know, time to get people more involved, I think.
I think it's good to say that gravel's probably afforded a better diversity, because it's come at a time where we're more mindful of this. So, you know, even mountain biking, which is relatively new in the grand scheme of cycling, it doesn't have the heritage of road riding. It's still of an era, or it's still been around a long time, where diversity wasn't a key issue, where gravel has kind of fallen right in the mix. So we're more conscious about everything we do with that mindset. So we see more diversity, I think, in gravel than any other genre of cycling.
Yeah, and what we also see is that a lot of events, the sheer acknowledgement of, okay, that is an issue, is also helping us to, if we address it, we can work on it. So I think that's a big, it's a big issue, and that we will see some progress over the next years. Next question is of Alex Bethke. He's an organizer of Gravel Fondo. He has a lot of questions actually. I think we'd better, more or less technical. Our next edition of Gravel Union Talks will be with a product coordinator of Shimano. I think those questions will be more appropriate over there. So Alex, we will get back to your questions. Simon Winter has two questions. Could have been in our intro. What do you think is best for gravel, tubes or tubeless?
Tubeless. Yeah, okay. That's an easy one. Thank you. I'll take more of those questions. No, okay. I was a late converter to tubeless. I saw it being such a hassle to do, and now I can't even imagine riding a bike that has inner tubes. It feels like a handicap. It's weird. It makes me anxious.
Yeah. No. And what if you have to choose between carbon and aluminium? What's your favorite?
Steel.
Wasn't in the question of Simon, but
I have one of each, and carbon is definitely a comfortable material. The way they can engineer that, I think if you're looking for a comfortable bike that was of a good weight, then carbon has to be. I mean, there's definitely light aluminium frames out there, but I just don't feel they're as comfortable as carbon.
Okay. Ollie is reminding me of the big debate question that we have still on our poll. So, what is your favorite wheel size, 700C or 650B? Please give us your answer in our poll, or with a heart for 700C and a thumbs up for 650B. Well, we've been talking about your passion, gravel riding, but you're also professionally involved in gravel riding. Can you tell us a little bit more about your professional background?
So I own a company called Northern, and our specialty is, I guess, helping brands and events engage with this gravel audience that we have now, this huge and growing gravel audience. And that's across a number of things. I do a number of global event series, and we also do a website.
Yeah, the website, Gravel Union. It's a great website because it's ours. But tell us a little bit more about the format and why did we? Because actually we started it up together a year or so back. What's the reason behind the platform?
So I think the two of us, identified that as event organizers, we could do a very good job in isolation in our local market, but there was nowhere really for gravel riders to go around Europe to figure out what was happening, outside of their outlook. So Gravel Union was a place where we could put mainly events, so people could have a single point of reference, so they could come and figure out what was near them or what was coming up and where to travel to. But also news pieces, interesting things about where people had ridden or where they were going to ride or what bikes or what setup, a real kind of central point for everything of gravel interest.
So it's a website with social channels, but as a gravel rider, what's in it for me? Why should I take out a free membership?
Firstly, because it's free. And secondly, because you buy in for zero cost into this community spirit, which is Gravel Union. We attend, I think we're up to it would have been 8 or 9 events we would have gone to this year. We take our Gravel Union tent, we take our technical support, we have good mechanics who can work on your bikes. We always have a cooler of beers and some chairs, and we always want to talk gravel. And this is kind of what you buy into. This is the spirit of Gravel Union, is that social element. And you also get, a chance to enter into our prize draws, which are fantastic. You get the free things that we have at the events, whether that be a badge for your bike bag or a neckerchief or a wallet for your phone. We've always got something cool.
Mm-hmm. And because you were mentioning the calendar in Gravel Union on the website is important. With COVID-19, all the events are cancelled, postponed. what did the editorial staff do to, to adjust to the situation?
Yeah, I mean, firstly, we became even more relevant, I think, in terms of aiding our event promoters in communicating those cancellations and those postponements. A lot of events have been moved to the back end of this year in areas where they feel that that's going to be possible. So we can help get that message out. And perhaps, if you had an event that was cancelled, now you can find something that will take place you could go to. But our general outlook was that, positively, this isn't going to last forever. There will be a time where we can ride our bikes and socialize in a new normality. So we changed our editorial to really focusing on the positive of planning for a time where we can ride our bikes more freely with our friends. So this is kind of what we've done. We've been speaking to riders to get their take on where they'd like to ride, what they want to ride, and we've been looking back at the places that we've ridden previously to inspire people to plan ahead.
Mm-hmm. Well, actually, we saw an enormous increase in traffic on the website and in membership. So people are, looking ahead and looking back and knowing, okay, this is the situation as is, and we will get over it, and then we will be on our bike. How do you see the platform evolving over the next year or so?
We've seen it. I mean, if we look back 12 months, when we first started this, we had to spend a lot of time researching events and contacting people to build that events calendar. Now we see way more positivity in terms of people sending us actively their events. They want to contribute to the site in terms of content, and we encourage that. We'd love to hear about people's rides or plans, or your bike build you just did, or the bike you're having made for you. All really interesting stuff. So I think we're just going to keep growing along the same trajectory we are now, just growing out that content and building that community.
Okay. Because currently there are a little over 20,000 members from, mostly from all countries from Europe, and we also have some Australians and some people from the US, etc. But mainly people from Europe. There's also this big promotion going on right now with Cube. And what I think is nice is that we always have, when we have a promotion, we have a questionnaire. So we also have a very good insight in what's happening in the community. So what's important, and do you visit events a lot? So we try to keep our eyes on the ball, and also the diversity of the audience. So for people, it's also a way to let us know how they experience gravel. We're moving on to the next topic on our list, the alternative. And I'm laughing because I know Lawrence a bit, and you kept the wheel of Lawrence for a couple of days. Please tell us a little bit more about
days, maybe minutes. So yeah, this is, I guess we keep looping back to the versatility of gravel bikes and how we interpret things differently. And this was a really cool project with Shimano and the GRX product line, that we would look at things in a different view. So we took that classics area of Belgium, famed for its classics road racing, and we applied a gravel mentality that we wanted to ride these things, but we wanted to traverse between them using different ways and means. So yeah, the three of us did a little bike packing trip over 2 days. It was me, Lawrence, and Stefan, who those guys run the podcast, the Lawrence podcast. You can help me out with the name. And it was an interesting experience. I think it was sold it would be more of a bikepacking mentality, but it turned out more to be a pro road racing classics. So yeah, Lawrence has only very recently retired. Definitely not enough time between that point in time and this one. And you put a professional, or even an ex-professional road racer in an area of the world that they've known for their entire career as a place to race. That's what they're going to do.
But did you have the time or energy to give him, because he's a he's fresh to being a pro rider, fresh to the gravel, especially the bikepacking side of things. Could you help him out with tips or tricks, or was it just?
I don't think. I think he was left with my original piece of advice that you need to kind of figure out how and what works for you, and then we had a little chat on day 2 about maybe what wasn't working for him. But he's a super tough guy. He just gets the job done.
Yeah, you have Stefan also involved, and he's always buffering because I think Lawrence only, he always wants to ride fast, and with his background, the definition of fast is like for us humans, it's like,
it's another league.
It's another league. So if you plan a next bike trip, then with a retired pro, he should be retired for at least a couple of years more. Probably.
This is a friend of mine gave me a good piece of advice that you should never ride with anybody who's ridden on TV. And I agree. But I've thrown out the challenge of a version 2 of this trip that they would come to my part of the world, so the northeast of England, and we would do a little gravel bikepacking trip and stay in a mountain bothy. Yeah. Okay.
Actually, I know that Lawrence is doing the dirty, because we mentioned Dirty Kansas. He's having this. It's on the website, the Gravel Union website, Dirty Cancelled, this Saturday. So you can plan a 100-mile or 200-mile route, and do that, starting from your home address. And I like the idea. There are also some prizes you can win. So you could check out our website for the latest on that. So, but you're probably not going to join us this Saturday, are you, Paul?
I will not be cancelling this Saturday, no. But I know a good few riders who will be taking part.
Yeah, well, I took up the challenge, and I think 100 miles is enough for me. So I know that Lawrence and others are doing 200. Hats off, but I'm getting too old for that stuff. 100 miles is good enough for me. Well, let me see. Maybe we could go to the big debate question, and Ollie can help me out with the last the results for the competition. This is a team. It's 77% for 700C. 77%. So now you can bring in your opinion, 700C or 650B.
Paul. Gravel is subjective, and everyone has their own opinion, but 77% of you are probably wrong. I love 650B. It's such a great tire. There's so many different variants on it now, and I am always talking about comfort. It's so key when you ride these bikes that you need to be comfortable, and that extra volume of tires you can get, going to a 650 by 47, it's perfect.
So 77% of the people were wrong then, but there's no right.
77% of people have never ridden 650.
Okay, but there's no wrong or right, but just opinions. But you can, you strongly support the 650B. Let me see. Well, I think we've touched upon all the subjects that we wanted to discuss, and I'm not running up because I always have a difficulty with keeping my time schedule, but I think I'm doing pretty okay now. Well, I want you to have the last word. Is there something that we discussed earlier in this episode that you want to come back to, maybe elaborate a little bit, or maybe even recall, like your opinion on the 650B?
No, I think we covered it all. I was curious to see what questions Alex had for me, because we won't go into them because I know they're technical, but I have to say hello to Alex because he did one of the best events that I did last year.
Well, maybe
the Vortec Gravel Fondo is an event that everyone should check out and do. It was true spirit of gravel riding. 2 days of exceptional gravel and really good beers and really good food.
Which helps.
A really good camp. Oh, it was amazing.
Well, somebody also gave us the suggestion to ask Alex to be in the show. So that might be a good idea if Alex open to that. I would be delighted to have him in one of our next episodes later on, because we'll be getting back to you, our dear viewers, with another episode of Gravel Union Talks, probably 2-3 weeks' time. We don't have a fit schedule yet. If you're all good with and have no further comments to make, Paul, then I can round things off by thanking everybody that watched this episode of Gravel Union Talks. We'll be back, hopefully 2 or 3 weeks' time. Please check our social channels and also take out the membership and make sure that you will have our newsletter, because we'll update you also on our newsletter. Thanks to all. Check out the next episode of Gravel Union Talks, and have a good one. See you later. Bye bye.
Awesome. Thank you. Take care.
Bye bye.